So I added all my herbs and spices and cheese into here. And I add a lot of parsley, I noticed. I just do it by eye and then I mix it with my hand. And the breadcrumbs I'm using are from Trader Joe's also. I sometimes use the Kroger brand ones. Doesn't really matter too much to me. I've also heard panko's a lot more healthier, but I haven't ventured out to trying that yet. So I have all my breading mixed up. And then with the olive oil, I just added some pepper and stirred up a little. And then I'm going to brush on the olive oil onto the chicken breasts once I have them prepared. Okay, so this is the chicken breast that I had filleted. There were 2 chicken breasts. And by no means am I an expert at filleting chicken breast in any way. I just kind of do my best. And normally I used to pound my chicken breasts when I made chicken parmesan, but the one time I did that with this recipe, they were so crisp and it wasn't the same. It's way better when I haven't pounded them. It was just a little too burnt for the recipe. It didn't give it enough time to get crispy, and on the coating it got dry and crispy with the chicken, which you don't want. You want them to still be juicy chicken. And this chicken breast I have is just skinless chicken breast from Trader Joe's. We like to get the ones that are prepackaged, and this week for some reason they only had something left with 2 chicken breasts, so that's all we have. Normally I would freeze them. It only costs $2.96, which is a good deal for 2 chicken breasts, so this is a very inexpensive meal to be making. There's my olive oil, my coating. Let's see if I can do one of these with one hand. And the reason why you see lots of paper plates is that we don't have a dishwasher. So when I make things like this, I like to make the least amount of dishes possible to have to clean at the end of the night. So I brush some on and it's all coated in it. And I kind of go like this. I don't want too much. And then I just dip it into the breadcrumbs. When I used to do this with egg, I think I used to use a fork a lot when I did my coating, but I think I'm a hands person. I like to get my hands in there and get everything coated, and then you kind of pat it gently. And then when I pick this up, I shake off all the extra coating. If you look on the other side, it's coated too. And then I just lay it on a baking sheet that I lined with tinfoil. I thought about it today that I've never tried doing it with my Silpat, but normally I used to do a deeper dish when I did it. But for some reason now I just started to use a baking sheet to put them on, and I will film back when I have all of them all lined up on here. Okay, there are all 4 of my breaded chicken breast halves, and I had this much breadcrumbs left over. Technically, if you needed it to be more friendly where you're not wasting product like I'm doing here, you would probably make a batch of this and only take from the bowl and put it onto the chicken and not dip the chicken into it, and then all your leftovers you could put in a bag and put in the freezer or the fridge and save for next time that you would make this, which we have done before, but I've just been in the habit of doing this and I probably shouldn't, thinking about it now. So there they are, and then in the recipe it says to lightly coat the baking sheet with cooking oil. So I just have Pam here, and I'm just gonna, they say to also do the top of them lightly, and then it says to put it in the oven for 20 minutes, then flip them for 5 minutes, and then you add your sauce and mozzarella on top. Whereas with my normal chicken parmesan recipe, I would put the sauce on top of them immediately, cover the whole entire thing in foil, so it's different. There they are in the oven for 20 minutes. I'm going to set the timer for. So I'm going to come up here and set the timer for 20 minutes. Okay, for my sauce that I make, I easily turn a jarred sauce. This is organic marinara sauce from Trader Joe's. I used it earlier this week, but there's still a lot left for the spaghetti sauce and to put on top of the chicken parmesan. This one, compared to other ones, is very bland. It's no salt added, and I tend not to add salt to any of my foods. I add spices, pepper, herbs, all those kinds of things. But I just have a chopped up little corner of an onion, a diced up tomato, also cherry tomatoes I like to do in this. I take out the center. I don't like the seeds. I'm not a raw tomato person even. I only like it cooked. And I wanted to show you, if I can, how I do my garlic. Normally I have two hands, but you just take the side of the knife and you hit it really hard and it breaks, the paper will come right off. Also, if it's a smaller clove of garlic, unlike this one, I will just hit it with my hand and take the paper off, and it gets it off perfectly. And then I dice it up, and I'll put that in my sauce. And then also my sauce, I saute the onion and tomato first because the garlic will burn a lot sooner. And when the onion starts to get a little translucent, at the beginning of that stage, then I'll put in my garlic, but I'll saute all these together with some olive oil. And then I'll put in like rosemary, oregano, basil, and black pepper. Basil, olive oil, and tomato, to me, it just has to be in every sauce. I don't always add actual chunks of tomato. It could also be very easy if you already have chopped onion in your fridge. If you just sauteed a little onion and warm up the sauce on the stove, it just gives a little something else to your sauce, especially adding seasoning. It really changes the store-bought sauce into your own sauce, and I think that's a really easy way to do that. Also, I will make giant batches of tomato sauce, and I will freeze it, and then you can easily defrost it and warm it up whenever you need it. This is what it looks like when it starts to get all blended in there, and I added all my herbs and pepper, onion. I haven't added the garlic yet because the onion isn't quite translucent at all yet. And then after this, when I do put in the garlic, I only let the garlic cook a little till it almost starts to brown, and then I put the sauce in, and I usually put the sauce towards low after it starts boiling and put a lid over the top. And then over in here, I have a big pot with water for the noodles that we're going to be using, and I have olive oil and a pinch of salt, because you're always supposed to season your water. I can't remember all the reasons why, I just know you're supposed to, which is a good thing to know. I put the olive oil in there because you don't want your noodles to stick together, but I know you're always supposed to put a little bit of salt in the water, which I don't always do because I try not to use a lot of salt. And this is the pasta we're trying today, and it's linguine pasta garlic basil from Trader Joe's, and it just looked really fun and different from our typical noodles. We haven't tried it yet before, so this will be the first time, but it was just something fun and new to try. I'm getting bored of the same thing. I really love Italian type food and pastas and lasagnas and stuff, so I wanted to try something new. So if you see, I know it's hard to see because my camera isn't good quality, but the onions start to get translucent. They start to be almost like you can see through them, and this is when I put in my garlic. So I'm just going to take my garlic and throw it in. Also, when I'm stirring this around, I'm breaking up the tomato bigger chunks with my spoon thumb, and they're getting nice and soft. Another great thing to do with your tomatoes, I've done before for my sauces, is just half them and put seasoning. I scoop the middles out, and I just put some seasoning on them, like olive oil, pepper, and some herbs, and bake them in the oven, and then put them in my sauce, and they give it so much of a rich flavor. So Robert just kindly showed me that there's a setting I could put it on to show more close up to things clear. And if you can see, I just put the garlic in a few seconds ago, but like that onion right there, it's kind of getting clear, and it looks so good with everything boiling up together. Okay, after it's been cooking a little while, this is when I would add my sauce. Let me see it. There we go. So I just add quite a bit of the sauce. I leave a little at the end to put on top of the chicken Parmesan. Then I stir this up, and once it's really good to get everything mixed really well. And then once it starts boiling up again, then I put the lid on and put it on low until everything else is done cooking. I just flipped them, and this is what they look like. I accidentally ripped the foil when I was flipping one, so I had to move it over. But this one, for some reason, looks like I didn't get as much breading on it as the other ones. But now I'm going to put them back in the oven for 5 more minutes. Then I will take them off, put the sauce and cheese on them, and then put them in for an additional 5 minutes. And I usually do the last minute or so with the broiler on. So I went ahead and put the sauce on, and I just used the plain sauce that was left over at the bottom of the jar, and you could technically use the sauce that you created too, and that would be fine. And then I sprinkled a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and then I'm just going to go ahead with this light shredded mozzarella cheese and put some on top of each of them. And technically, if you wanted to be healthier, you could eliminate using the mozzarella, so much Parmesan cheese. The recipe doesn't call for any of of the Parmesan cheese as much, I think. Or maybe it doesn't use the mozzarella. I know there's one of the cheeses it doesn't use, but I couldn't live without it. But you could use less cheese to make it healthier. Put like a tablespoon versus like 4 or 3 on each. I just strained my pasta, and I always cook mine al dente, which means to the tooth. It means when you bite it, it has a little bit of a bite with your tooth, but it isn't soft. Also because the sauce, it cooks a little bit after it's done because it's still warm. The sauce is going to cook it a little bit too. So, whoa, it got steamy. I'm just going to stir my sauce in with my pasta. This is what it looks like all stirred up. And I'm about ready to take my chicken parmesan out of the oven, and that is some bread that I just put a little bit of butter on and I toast it, and it's so good. Okay, dinner is complete and I'm getting ready to eat. One word of advice I would give is that immediately I take all the chicken parmesan off the pan, otherwise it will stick to the foil, and I get it plated on whatever the leftovers are going to be stored in, so like a plate or a container. I do that immediately. But this is everything complete. The pasta turned out amazing. I tried one of the noodles plain before I ate it. This is my toasted bread with butter. It's very good, dipped in sauce. And then I'm going to put a little bit of Parmesan cheese onto my spaghetti. And then I also have just a little bowl of grapes that I'm going to have with it. But that is the end of everything. Thank you so much for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video.